Hi, Andrew Arnone here, Arnone Mortgages. Welcome to episode 4 of the New to Mortgage series. This week, we focus on terms that you may have heard before if you've had a mortgage, or maybe your parents had a mortgage when you were younger or something like that. You may have heard them before, but you may not really understand what they mean. That is an open mortgage and a closed mortgage. Now, an open mortgage is a mortgage that you are allowed to pay off at any point without any penalty. Most mortgages are at least partially open, which means there's some sort of penalty when it comes to paying them off. For example, it might be you have to pay 3 months worth of interest, or an interest rate differential, which is the difference between the interest rate at the time of the mortgage that you are in currently in your term, and the interest rate that is currently available for people who are applying for new mortgages. Now, a closed mortgage is a mortgage where you cannot break the mortgage for any reason. It's why if you're working with a mortgage agent, typically one of the things that we stress is, yes, closed mortgages can be, if that's all that you can get, then that's great. But if you have the possibility to have an open, at least partially open mortgage, where there's some sort of penalty if you had to break it, it can be extremely beneficial. The reason for this is, right, especially if you're, new in a new field, not necessarily a new field, but you're, young, say you're just trying to start a new family or a young family, and your job, you haven't been in the same job with the same company for, 20 years or something like that. You have no idea what life is going to be like, in 5 years, which is the most common mortgage term length. So it can be very, very, very beneficial to have the opportunity to be like, hey, I just got a job, or my spouse just got a job in BC. So we need to move out to BC, so we have to break this mortgage. If you're in a closed mortgage, you cannot do that without selling the home. Or, for example, if you wanted to break a mortgage and increase the mortgage amount, for example, say you were like, oh, I just got this new amazing job, new promotion, but and now we can finally access the equity in our home to do that new kitchen reno. Well, if you have a current mortgage, you cannot break the current mortgage and increase the amount to access more cash, more equity in your home. Unfortunately, that's not something they can do. That's why the flexibility of having an open mortgage, at least partially open, allows for so many different things, because you don't know what life is going to throw at you. So talking to a mortgage professional and having this discussion about, okay, what does a truly open mortgage look like, or a partially open mortgage look like, right? It just allows for freedom and flexibility. And that's one of the biggest things that we stress in the mortgage industry, is that potential freedom, because sometimes it is a big commitment buying a home, and you think, okay, we're going to be in the same home for 25 years, but you have no idea what happens when it comes to life and how things change, and, right? You have no idea what life's going to look like in 5 years, especially, the last few years being a big example of that. So it's extremely important to have that flexibility. So that's what a open versus closed mortgage means. Closed mortgage, a fully closed, 100% closed mortgage means you cannot break it, you cannot change it, you cannot refinance it if you're in a fixed rate mortgage, for example, but it's open or partially open. If the rate drops, 2 or 3%, and you go, oh my God, I want to take advantage of the savings that are available. You can't do that. Right, that's a big one. That's a big thing that we stress is, you can't take advantage of market trends with a closed mortgage, but it can provide stability of like, okay, I know this is what my mortgage is going to be. This is everything it's going to be. This is it's very similar to having a fixed rate, although not the same. Very, very crucially not the same. But it can provide that stability of, okay, I know this is how this is going to go, and for the next 5 years, regardless of whatever else happens, or however long your term is for the next X amount of time, this has to be the same. So it's guaranteed something you can account for that way. So there are slight benefits to it, but typically most mortgages are at least partially open, and having that flexibility is vital. Thank you for watching episode 4 of the New to Mortgage series, and I'll see you next week.